legislation just keeps piling up. Good morning, I'm Josh Hinkle. Thanks for joining us. Many lawmakers thought they'd have a quick special session, but this thing could play out for the entire 30 days. The same day the regular session ended last month, Governor Rick Perry called them right back to the Capitol. With just over a week left, the list of topics for lawmakers to tackle keeps getting longer. Over the week, Perry added 3 more. First, funding for crucial transportation projects to keep up with the state's growing population. Next, a measure to make a mandatory life sentence with parole for 17-year-olds convicted of capital murder. Then legislation to regulate abortions, procedures, providers, and facilities.
For years, Amy Hagstrom Miller had a vision of an abortion care facility where women could have a quick procedure and comfortable recovery.
We're going to go down here to the aftercare room where patients come post-procedure to relax.
But soon, Whole Women's Health in Austin might have to trade the cushy recliners for hospital stretchers.
In an ambulatory surgical setting, this room would need to be about 4 times the size.
As lawmakers consider requiring clinics like this to be surgical centers.
So there's a whole bunch of requirements that have to do with airflow, temperature, humidity, size of the room, that kind of thing, for operations that may take 3 or 4 hours. But for an abortion that takes 5 or 10 minutes, it's sort of mismatched.
Especially for something she says is usually very safe.
Well, there are complications from abortions, and those are very serious, and we do need to have safety standards so that women can be properly taken care of.
Supporters of the legislation, like the Texas Alliance for Life, say it could drop the number of abortions in Texas, but it also makes healthy sense for women.
This is a list of more than 400 licensed ambulatory surgical centers throughout the state of Texas. If they can meet those safety standards, why can't the abortion providers?
Texas has 47 abortion clinics, but only 5 are also surgical centers. Only one of those is in Austin, and it's not Hagstrom Miller's.
It is a needed healthcare service.
If the bill passes, she says most clinics can't afford the upgrades. She's not even sure this place will stay open.
It's going to have a tremendous effect on Texas women.
That's just one measure within a larger bill some say makes up the biggest abortion restriction in the nation. But remember, that's a new addition. This special session started with just one topic: redistricting, the drawing of voting maps. The big issue: can lawmakers reach a consensus with minority groups over districts that don't discriminate? The Senate began wrapping up at the end of the week, and the House has another hearing scheduled for tomorrow. House members will also take on another item in the days ahead: the West Fertilizer explosion that leveled numerous homes and a school and killed 15 people. The Committee on Homeland Security and Public Safety will meet tomorrow, following up on an initial hearing into the investigation. It will include testimony from the Department of Public Safety, Emergency Management, State Health Services, and the Fire Marshal's Office. This comes just days after FEMA refused to provide additional money to help the town rebuild, despite these words from President Obama during a memorial service after the explosion.
And we'll be there even after the cameras leave, and after the attention turns elsewhere. Your country will remain ever ready to help you recover and rebuild and reclaim your community.
Maybe FEMA wasn't paying attention. Maybe FEMA didn't get the message from the president that he has told these people he's going to do everything he can.
For a closer look at what's happening under the dome, we turn to our roundtable of political journalists. Jay Root joins us from the Texas Tribune, and we also have Ben Philpott, host of KUT's Agenda Texas. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
So you just heard Governor Perry talking about the West explosion and kind of responding to what President Obama had said. Are we seeing kind of another setup for something on a national scale for him? What do you think his response meant?
I think they really want the money. I think they want FEMA to approve this. I mean, I thought that the response was a little muted. I mean, I'm used to Rick Perry really going for the jugular when he's talking about Barack Obama. And he did say, you know, Barack Obama looked those people in the eyes and said he would give them, it would help them. But I think he wants to see if FEMA will reconsider. It wasn't Obama personally, as far as we know, who said to, you know, turn down the money. FEMA turned down the money. I think they want another bite at the apple.
So that's just one thing he's been focusing on, but you know, he added a lot of legislation to the special session call. A lot of it is conservative legislation. What do you think this says about the whole theme of what's to come in his future, Ben?
Well, you know, I think he probably will end up running again for president. And, you know, things like this help to lay the groundwork, adding things on abortion, which is, I think we were talking about this actually earlier. This may be the first time that he's actually added socially conservative issues like abortion to a special session call. You know, whether or not they'll end up making it through the Senate and the House with just, less than 2 weeks left in the session, in the special session, you know, it may not, but it's still a win for him because he put it on the call. He showed his his conservative bona fides, and he can then point to Democrats and say, well, they of course blocked it.
And before his last presidential run, we saw something similar with a bunch of conservative items that were actually added to that special session call back in 2011. Does this kind of remind you of that?
A little bit. I mean, you know, you anything that you think about, though, you can't help but think about that oops moment and how bad that presidential campaign was. I think what you're seeing, though, this whole week was Rick Perry's week. I mean, he started out on Monday saying, I'm going to New York to spread the message of Texas, to spread the message of the Texas model. He's running ads there, and including ads that have him on the ad, you know. So, you know, people are speculating that this is all about redeeming himself, building himself back up after a sort of horrific presidential campaign. You know, will he be able to do it? You know, does he have that Dan Quayle stigma? I don't think we'll know until, you know, if and until he gets in, but certainly what's happening now is you're seeing him build himself back up.
I think we'll know once he starts to recruit in South Carolina, Iowa, and New Hampshire. We'll know for sure that he's running for president again. And
we were all kind of waiting because he kept saying, I'll tell you what I'm going to do after the session. Well, now we're in the special session and we still haven't heard anything. So when do you think we might actually know something?
You know, he's really, he had said all along, I mean, over and over during the session, I'll tell you in June. And then it was, you know, now there's no timetable. We don't have a timetable anymore. Obviously, the most important thing right now is he going to run for governor again? And I think the conventional wisdom is that he's not. But, you know, you have to hold a little back when it comes to Rick Perry because he just has shown that he's willing to do unpredictable things over and over.
And when it comes to the governor's race, you know, earlier we were talking about what are the Democrats going to do this time around. Wendy Davis's name keeps getting popped up, you know, the senator from Fort Worth. Do you think that that's even something that might actually come up? You
know, her name has been batted around a lot. I think that, as we were saying earlier, the fact that she drew a 2-year re-election for Senate, to run for governor, she would have to give up that seat. She probably doesn't want to give up that seat for maybe a run down the road when, you know, maybe Democrats have tried to turn the state a little bluer. So I don't know if she'll end up running or not. And if not her, I think the one problem is if not her, who? And I don't know who that would be.
Do you think the same thing?
Well, it's extraordinary. The Democrats have not won statewide office since 1994, right. So we're coming up on the 20 years. 20 years. I mean, and the fact that we're not even talking about anybody, you know, running, or that there's no really identified candidates out there is extraordinary. It's just unbelievable how long they have been down.
And we just keep talking about the Republicans, Greg Abbott or Rick Perry.
You know, Greg Abbott's just sort of waiting in the wings. I mean, you know, if Perry does step aside, I don't know anybody who doesn't think that that Greg Abbott will be the Republican nominee, and by virtue of that is the odds-on favorite to be the next governor of Texas.
Well, not much time left in the special session, and we're still in June, so he could hold true to his word and maybe make some kind of announcement.
Yeah, June 26th.
We still have a little time.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for being with us. I appreciate it. And be sure to visit the legislative section of KXAN.com for complete coverage of the special session. There you'll find our past episodes, our guide to the major players, and my blog from the Capitol. You can email me your thoughts and questions at josh.hinkle@kxan.com. You can also find me on Twitter @HinkleJ. Thanks for joining us for In Session In Depth.